Hello, people. I want to add a response to the Slut Whore Tramp video that Christina Rad has made. And I want you just want to make a picture of that video so you can know what it is, and you can actually search it on YouTube and listen to it for yourself. Now, I want to add some additional comments. I notice many, or I should say, I should notice many philosophical and moral problems with this notion of a slut, tramp, or whore when that word is used in a derogatory manner, when that word is used in a moral, in a manner that tries to assert that these terms are in reality an example of moral depravity. Okay. The first problem is what Christina Rad has been articulating is the double standard. Now, I will say that I do disagree with many people with the double standard in terms of how men are affected by the double standard. I do agree that men are not chastised as severely as women when it comes to behavior that is called promiscuous, or behavior that is outside the realm of quote-unquote benevolent sexuality, which is usually symbolic of a serious relationship, or symbolic of, or a gesture of a lifetime commitment. Either or, those are they can be intertwined, or they can be either or. Okay. Here's the first problem. It is a popular moral convention to assert that a woman who is quote unquote promiscuous, and she doesn't even, not necessarily in the sense of having vaginal intercourse, it could be oral sex, or it can be even it could even be symbolic in a sense, which she could be having phone sex. Okay. She could be having phone sex with many men in total fantasy. Or it could be a woman that just fantasizes about having sex with a lot of men. Or a variety of men. Okay. This woman is perceived as not respecting herself. Now, let me preface that the scenarios that I'm going to give you are only pertaining to the straight community. I don't think that lesbians that are sleeping around with a lot of women, I think we're morally neutral on that. Gay men who sleep around with a lot of men, we're morally neutral on that. I think the slut, tramp, whore moral axiom, or slut, tramp, whore a mythology where someone is violating their own body pertains to straight people, generally speaking. Okay, so we're talking about straight man and we're talking about straight woman. Okay, so on one hand, we have a woman. If a woman fits this conception, whether she's attracting a lot of men based on nudity, having phone sex with a lot of men, not necessarily having intercourse again, or having oral sex with a lot of men, man who's stimulating a lot of men relative to what the society says, this woman is intrinsically degrading herself. Now, when you put a man in front of that, my disagreement with Christina Rad is that automatically this man is praised. Yes, in many circles he's more likely to be praised, but he's also there is a strong percentage of people who will perceive this man as a womanizer, a philanderer. Okay, those words implicate that this man is exploiting women. So you notice that the double standard has misogyny, but also has misandry in a sense, because the theme is that only a man can exploit a woman sexually. Okay, a woman can only exploit herself sexually. So sex intrinsically is exploited to women, whether they allow it to exploit them or men exploit them. You notice that if you flip it around, you take different orientations like gay or straight, gay or lesbian. Okay, you'll see the hypocrisy and you'll see the double standard. Because it can't necessarily, it's not necessarily a gender thing. Well, it is a gender thing, but it can't be justified by, gender differences and all these heuristics. It cannot be. It can be explained possibly, but it cannot be justified. But even if you take a lesbian that sleeps around with a lot of women, and and this lesbian woman tells a straight woman, many straight women will not know how to react. Many men will not know how to react. Now, the stereotype is obviously that man, if she's attractive, he might like that. Okay, but let's just say that this guy's not. I know there's men, or there's Caribbean descendant men that find it revolting. I don't, but I'm not one of them. But there are. They are going to be, well, I can't use Caribbean because Caribbean gays and lesbians, you can't use them. Just take a male that does not really find, even attractive lesbians having sex attractive in his brain, and this person is not going to find it immoral. He may not be attracted to it, but he doesn't have a moral judgment, generally speaking. He may have a moral judgment, but the thing is that this slut, whore, tramp, womanizer, philanderer, double standard in the sense of first intensity, which is obviously more harsh on the woman, and just a difference in a general theme that says that sex is intrinsically exploitive toward a woman, if it's not done the quote unquote right way in a committed, loving relationship. You can see the double standard in intensity. You can also see the double standard or distinction, or how differently we'll treat men and women who violate the promiscuous code. Okay. Now, first, a couple of objections that people may raise. The first objection will be, well, women are evolutionary more monogamous than men. Women are more evolutionary, more choosy than men. And I say to that, so what? So that means that a woman that's an exception to your rule has no right to be promiscuous because most women are not as promiscuous as her. I mean, let's just switch it out with shorter monogamy. If we have a man that's monogamous, would you say, well, you can't, because you say women are more monogamous than men. So the evolutionary. So I guess. So what are you saying? So you're saying that since women are more likely to follow the moral code, you should be harsher on women who break the moral code? Is that logical? Now that explanation can be valid as an evolutionary reason. And evidence, when people are presenting evidence to support that, and you can either accept it or not. But regardless if that theory is valid, that does not make it rational that the double standard exists. Okay? It's not rational for you to be more harsh or to have a more emotional reaction toward an adult woman who says that she's having phone sex with 100 men than than you are when you are when a man does this very same thing. It's not rational. Now there may be evolution. Yes, you can say there's evolutionary reasons, saying that well we need in our evolutionary process we need women in our biological subconscious process. We need women to be more choosy because this somehow was a method of preserving offspring. Well, first, a couple of things I have to say to that. Yes, that may be true. Yes, that may be the motive of why you're having your delusion, but it still is a moral delusion. Okay? So, as a matter of fact, if that is proven valid, or if I accept that as fact, I'm going to be even more ardent about calling out this double standard, because you're saying it's biologically ingrained in your brain. So therefore, I need to use harsh deterministic causes to unwire it. I'm not going to sit there and accept it. Okay? No, I don't accept it on a moral level. The ontology, if you explain the ontology of why the double standard is, it's fine for you to explain it. But keep in mind, that will not change how I approach the double standard. As a matter of fact, it will make me even more ardent to call out the double standard. Okay? So again, the ontology of women's sexual capacity of impregnating or having in a sense, cannot spread their genes as fast as men, okay, and it doesn't prove anything. In other words, simply because a man can sleep with 1,000 women and get them pregnant does not mean you should have the double standard. Simple. Now, if your double standard is based upon benevolence, that you're concerned that a woman may be raped, or a man is less dangerous for a woman, or less dangerous for a man to sleep around with random women as it is for a woman to sleep around with random men. And you just point to men, but it's safe for women to sleep around with other women. If you're using that reason, at least you're giving me, I wouldn't say possible reason, but far more respectable reasons to take your claim seriously or have some type of respect for it. But how people are using slut shaming in our society has nothing to do with benevolence. It has to do with symbolism. I mean, let's bring up Miley Cyrus. Here's another double standard. Miley Cyrus is disrespecting women, demeaning women, and disrespecting herself. Now, if a man did that, he's only disrespect. First of all, either if he's going out nude and he's humping some, or just going in a Speedo and humping some female star, he's not respecting women. Okay. You notice how the double standard is, and it's illogical. Even if you base it even if you have the explanation on why the delusion exists, still it is a delusion. Okay, someone can have a natural hallucinations. You can tell me the natural ontology of hallucinations, but you can't tell me hallucinations are healthy. Okay, I'm saying that the double standard is not healthy because from an epistemological level, it's fundamentally wrong. It doesn't matter what you feel. It's based upon emotion, and yes, that can have some evolutionary explanations. Richard Dawkins, and Robert Trivers have at least given some type of explanation or some type of evolutionary view on why this happens. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're right, and it doesn't really matter if they're right. The fact of the matter is that the double standard is a moral delusion. Because let's just go back to the phone sex thing. If some woman just says that she's having phone sex with a lot of guys randomly, and every man, imaginary gang bands, you have it. and she never meets these guys, and somebody tells her, and somebody says that she's being a slut and that she's disrespecting herself, that person has more than a, that person has an absolute, almost a, yeah, has an absolute viewpoint of sexual chastity that he or she demands of women. Because, again, I ask, why, if a man says he has phone sex with a whole bunch of women, simply, yes, it's even worse in some sense because that person, he's a predator. He's a predator, he's a womanizer, he's a philanderer. It doesn't matter if women are saying it's okay, because people, Dr. Drew will say, no, they're lying. Because he's shown every woman that supposedly liked casual sex and got emotionally committed. So he's going to tell me that every single woman is lying to you. Okay? I'm not picking on Dr. Drew because Dr. Laura and many other psychologists go on this mythology. Okay? So these things are fundamental. I don't like these things. I don't accept these things because I find them philosophically and rationally wrong. They're false. They're mythologies. How can it be fundamentally impossible for a woman to not sexually degrade a man or treat a man, I don't know, be a misandry, commit some form of sexual misandry because they don't follow the anti-promiscuous code? And I don't agree with the promiscuous code in the first place. But I'm saying, even if I accept your premise, why does society and why do people, how come I never hear? I'm sure that there's times where someone has said this, that, oh, you're disrespecting man, you're disrespecting women. You have no respect for men. When it comes to a woman that sleeps around a whole bunch of guys, you have no respect for men. I'm sure that someone has said this, but it is so rare. Okay, the most common what's equivalent to slut shaming for women, the shaming of men is that you are not treating that woman with respect. So when the guy goes out of the sexual boundaries, quote unquote, it doesn't matter. It could be a monogamous person that's an M. I mean, Dr. Drew would sit there and say that you're not respecting women. He's always about women. See, sex is about how you treat women. But suppose a woman ties up a guy and cusses him out and has sex with him. What is he? Well, he's still not respecting women, because a woman shouldn't be. He still is always focused on men treating women or women treating themselves. That is the mythology, and you can't justify it. You can't justify it by the biological differences, the parental investment theory that Trivers has given us. And if you don't know what it is, you can look it up, Google it. People will use that. Again, you're using the ontology that men are more promiscuous. That doesn't prove that just because men are innately more promiscuous than women, and it can be 1,000-fold, does not mean a woman, based upon this general difference, has to follow that code. Or there's something wrong with her, or she's morally violating her self-respect. I mean, actually, there's something wrong with her relative to the claim that something's wrong with her. And I don't agree with this, and I think it's a stereotype, but relative to, again, saying that there's something wrong with her as a claim, a correlational claim of women promiscuity, sexual abuse, rape, or what have you. That claim compared to she should not be promiscuous because she's less promiscuous than men as a group. Well, the former, so there's something wrong with her, has some type of respect. Not much, okay? Not much. But at least it has some type, least you can demonstrate, perhaps in a general sense, because again, Dr. Drew cannot, I'm now chancellor, he cannot tell me every single woman who is promiscuous has some bad background, or it was abused, or is rebelling against norms. It comes from a very conservative family. You can't. It's impossible. So therefore, for those type of women, and even if they're 99, let's say that 99%, for every one woman that is highly promiscuous, and let's say that they sleep, this woman sleeps around with, I'm just saying hypothetically, a man per week. Okay, there's 100 guys that do the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry, that equals millions of people that you're saying, well, since most of us in this group don't do it, therefore you shouldn't be doing it, and we should be harsher on you. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's absolutely ridiculous. See, these are the shortcuts that those who believe in chastity, in the sense that I just defined it, or chastity as a virtue in the sense that I defined it, these are the shortcuts that they use to discourage men, women from probably their nature of what they want to do. Now, I want to also reiterate, I'm not saying that because somebody's naturally promiscuous that the ontology is valid. Not necessarily. I'm saying that if there are situations where that person can be promiscuous and you cannot come up with good reasons for them to discourage that promiscuity, then your moral action is meaningless to us. Okay, that is what I'm saying. So I know I ranted for like 22 minutes, but I hope that you guys understand where many of us are coming from. Thank you.